entity, and at other times it's been the biggest help we've ever had as far as getting exposure, especially in the media, as far as bringing people out of their homes and getting down to our show. If that's what does it, and then they start to learn about who we are and what we've done on our own, then that's fine. But to be labeled like that is unjust, I would think. Those guys that's like calling a garage band the new Rolling Stones, and I don't think it's appropriate, however complimentary.
The waters overnight had been rough, unsettling to most on board the ship. For artist Jeremy Down, it was all a bit much, choosing instead to find a vacant bench at the rear of the boat to ride out the rough waters. After 18 hours at sea, we finally arrived in Cape Dorset, a community well known in the art world as the home of Inuit sculpture and printmaking. It was also a homecoming for John Huston, son of legendary art historian James Huston. As the ship narrowed its way into the channel, I asked John about how he thinks Canadians perceive the North.
The big question is how many Canadians will ever really see this, you know? And many people I know talk about going to faraway exotic places and so on, but right here within Canada there's this faraway exotic country, and you know, it helps define who we are as Canadians, and I guess it's to my regret that so few Canadians will ever actually see it in their lifetime. Instead of this just being a place where there's, you know, problems to be solved, you know, problems of unemployment or problems, and just kind of seeing it as a problem, we come up here and see it as a great part of Canada and a great part of the beauty of Canada, and something that really should be enabled.
Cape Dorset's history is rich in Inuit folklore and legend. Remains of ancient Inuit people have been found and dated as far back as 1000 BC. Like Kimmerit, it also served as an early trading post for the Hudson Bay Company, but Cape Dorset's real notoriety began when a settlement administrator and artist named James Huston arrived in the community. Along with his wife, they helped gifted artists, printmakers, and carvers find a market for their work. Through the emergence of the West Baffin Eskimo Cooperative, art became and remains an economic boon to the community. John Huston refers to Cape Dorset as home. It's not hard to understand why, especially when he's reunited with one of the town's legendary printmakers, Kanujuak Ashevik.
Hey. She was thinking, well, that kind of looks like Joannesy, you know, who grew up here, and I guess it really is Joannesy. That's what she thought as I was walking up. Yeah.
Born in 1927, Kanujuak has spent a great part of her life living off the land, something that is represented in the work she continues to produce.
So yes, she's still making her art in a big way right now up to the present day. This is her. It's her. She didn't just say this just now, but she's gone on to say to me many times, this is her love. It's her job, but it's also her passion, and she just does it all the time.
It's a passion that is seen throughout the town as local artists proudly show their work to outside visitors. But for John Huston, the successes in art do not shield Cape Dorset from some of the challenges that confront most communities in the north.
The elders, who have been a kind of a mainstay and a great resource for the youth, well, for everybody, are passing away at a rather alarming rate. At the same time, there are more youth than there ever have been. You might call it almost a population explosion. They say that half of Nunavut are 16 or under. It's astonishing. So it's a teeter-totter. It's a question of perhaps how much they're going to be able to do to, I believe anyway, to reach back kind of into their own culture and get themselves on kind of a solid footing of as Inuit, and to be able to go forward with something into the future.
In the late afternoon, a heavy fog blankets the town. We are told it's time to return to the ship. Working from a traditional paint box, drawn onwards, Rob Saley quickly applies the last brushstrokes.
Having a limited amount of time up here, I want to bring back as much reference as I can, but certainly having the ability to use my panels or on-site paintings has in cooperation with my photographs. They help me better understand the pictures I've taken, and I think sometimes when you're painting on site, you can capture things that the camera doesn't.
Two of us naked in the center ringside. Critics abound.
Back on board the ship, the Cape Dorset experience was capped off with an impromptu lounge performance by Jeremy Down. When CBC News Sunday returns, the Drawn Onward artists confront the stunning contrasts of Arctic life.
Is a tender trap now.
The next morning was magnificent. Massive icebergs could be seen floating by the ship. The artists, armed with sketchbooks and cameras, were busy recording the moment. Over the next couple of days, we continued to discover some of the riches more commonly thought of when visiting the Arctic. Colonies of thick-billed murres could be seen perched on ledges of massive cliffs rising from the sea. On an early morning Zodiac trip, we stumbled upon a polar bear and 2 cubs searching for food along the jagged rocks. Summer is a challenging time of year for the polar bear. Without ice, it's difficult to hunt for seal, its main dietary source, making the Zodiac and artists on board a meal worth considering.
What we've just seen is a female with 2 cubs. 1.5-year-olds will often spend a couple of years with their mother, and in fact there was still evidence of suckling. And I think that's why those young ones were in pretty good condition. It's a very challenging time of year. This in the summer in this part of the lower Arctic, mainly due to the fact that there's no ice here. Polar bears are a species that feed primarily on seals. And to get access to those seals, they need some ice to use to hunt on.
We also discovered places like Diggy's Island. The rocky landscape contained the ruins of ancient Inuit hunting camps. It also served as a quiet refuge for the ship's artists, allowing them to fully contemplate the harsh wilderness the Inuit had to endure. Jimmy